Have you ever wandered through a town so quiet, so empty, that every sound feels louder than it should? Streets where your own footsteps echo like someone is walking just behind you, and shadows seem to move where no one stands? In New York, small towns exist that were once alive with families, laughter, and industry, now abandoned, forgotten, and whispered about by locals as places where the past refuses to let go. Join me as we explore 10 of the creepiest small towns in New York and ask yourself, would you dare step inside, alone? If you're enjoying this spine-chilling journey, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to Traveling Guide Hub so you never miss a story from the world's most mysterious and haunted locations. Doodletown, New York. Imagine walking through a forest where the sunlight barely reaches the ground. Each step crunches on fallen leaves, and for a moment you feel utterly alone, until a faint shuffle behind you freezes your breath. You turn and see nothing. Welcome to Doodletown, a village that vanished decades ago, yet some claim it hasn't entirely left. Tucked deep in the woods of Bear Mountain State Park, Doodletown was once a thriving mountain community. Settlers arrived in the mid-1700s, constructing homes, a schoolhouse, a church, and 2 small cemeteries. By the early 1900s, roughly 300 residents eked out a life here, working as loggers, miners, and farmers. The valley rang with the rhythm of daily labor, pickaxes striking timber, wheels turning, children laughing by the riverbanks. Life was hard but simple, steeped in community and closely bound to the forested land. The 20s brought change. The expansion of nearby Bear Mountain and Harriman parks meant the state gradually purchased the land. Many resisted, holding on to their homes, whispering that even after leaving, strange sounds haunted their nights. By 1965, Doodletown was completely abandoned. Homes were torn down, streets were erased, and nature slowly reclaimed the valley. Yet the silence never felt empty. It's a quiet that presses down, as if listening. Hikers today report unsettling experiences. Footsteps seem to echo behind them. Shadows dart just beyond sight. One visitor recounted standing near the old schoolhouse when he heard the faint laughter of children, disappearing the moment he turned. Others claim the air feels heavier near the cemeteries, and shapes seem to flicker between the ruins. The forest whispers of lives once lived, stories of joy and hardship that linger long after the last door closed. Doodletown is a reminder that even when buildings crumble and families leave, memory refuses to vanish entirely. Every stone foundation, every fallen fence post holds echoes of a vanished community. Next time you walk these woods, listen closely. Are you hearing the laughter of the past, or is something else silently observing from the shadows? 2. Sleepy Hollow, New York. Imagine walking along a fog-draped path at night. The Hudson glimmers faintly beside you, its waters whispering over stones long worn smooth. The air smells of damp earth and decaying leaves, mixing with the faint scent of the river. Every step you take seems amplified, echoing through the quiet, and the shadows between the trees stretch longer than they should. Somewhere ahead, a soft rustle hints at movement, though nothing appears. This is Sleepy Hollow, a town where history and legend intertwine, and where centuries of stories still cling to the misty streets. Founded in the 1600s as a Dutch settlement, Sleepy Hollow thrived on the river's trade, farming, and milling. By the 18th century, farms, houses, and small industries lined the area, while the local cemetery held the remains of generations. But alongside ordinary life, a legend emerged, a headless rider galloping at night, haunting travelers and locals alike. Over time, the story became inseparable from the town itself, weaving fear into the daily lives of residents while creating a mystique that draws visitors centuries later. Life in Sleepy Hollow was never simple. Harsh winters and river floods challenged residents, while mysterious occurrences were whispered about in hushed tones. Lights flickered along the riverbank for no reason. Cold gusts surprised people in the summer. Shadows darted through forests and cemeteries, vanishing before anyone could get a proper glimpse. Locals swore that sometimes the land itself seemed alive, holding on to memories of the past, both ordinary and terrifying. Modern visitors describe experiences that defy explanation. A sudden weight pressing down on shoulders. A figure glimpsed through the fog that disappears the instant it's noticed. Unseen whispers echoing across cemetery stones, or the sensation of being followed along old pathways when no one else is present. Even with the town now bustling with tourism and modern life, the aura of Sleepy Hollow remains, as though the past refuses to be forgotten. Sleepy Hollow is not just a town of history or legend. It's a place where the line between the two feels fragile. Every building, path, and cemetery whispers of the lives once lived here. So next time you walk its fog-laden streets, ask yourself, are the shadows just tricks of the mist, or does the headless horseman still ride, silently observing, waiting for the unwary? 3. Tahawas, New York. Imagine stepping onto an abandoned road at the edge of a valley. A cold wind snakes through the mountains, carrying the scent of damp earth and rusted metal. Mist curls around broken fences and the foundations of homes long reclaimed by nature. Somewhere ahead, the faint clink of metal echoes, though no one is there. Shadows shift along the hillsides, fleeting and impossible to catch. This is Tahawas, a mining village frozen in time, where history and mystery entwine, and the mountains seem to remember every footstep once taken here. Nestled deep in the Adirondacks, Tahawas was established in the 1820s as a mining settlement, rich in iron ore. Over the decades, the village thrived. Families built homes, schools, and shops to support the miners who labored day and night. Children's laughter echoed across wooden bridges and dirt roads, while the mountains themselves bore witness to the rhythm of work, pickaxes striking stone, horses clopping along trails, and the distant whistle of the ore train. At its height, Tahawas was a bustling hub in an otherwise rugged wilderness, a testament to human resilience in the face of isolation. But life here was harsh. Winters were brutal, troads treacherous, and the labor unending. By the mid-20th century, mining became unprofitable, and families gradually abandoned their homes. Churches, schoolhouses, and small businesses fell silent. Locals whispered that the mines themselves held memories, or perhaps something more. Nature slowly crept back, reclaiming streets and structures, leaving behind an eerie, almost supernatural quiet. Visitors today describe sensations that cannot easily be explained. Footsteps echo across empty streets, though no one is present. A faint laughter drifts from a crumbling schoolhouse, vanishing before it can be traced. Shadows flit across hillsides, or cold gusts brush across the skin like invisible hands. Some explorers report a subtle hum near the old mine shafts, as if the mountain itself remembers the toil, the lives, and the hardships that unfolded here. Tahawas is more than abandoned buildings and empty roads. Every decayed structure, every rusted gate, every echoing footstep tells a story of life, labor, and loss. So next time you wander these deserted streets, ask yourself, are the miners' voices just echoes of the past, or does the mountain still watch, silently observing the living as they tread where history refuses to sleep? 4. Love Canal, Niagara Falls, New York. Imagine walking through quiet, empty streets. The air feels heavy and sour, carrying the faint tang of chemicals that cling to your clothes and hair. Windows of boarded-up houses reflect shadows that seem to twitch at the edge of your vision. A subtle shuffle echoes across the cracked pavement, though the streets are deserted. This is Love Canal, a neighborhood where the past refuses to stay buried, and the earth itself seems to hold a memory too painful to forget. Love Canal began as a residential area in the 1940s, built atop a chemical dump operated decades earlier by the Hooker Chemical Company. Initially, it seemed like any other neighborhood. Children played in yards, families moved into newly built homes, and schools filled with the laughter of students. But beneath the surface, a hidden danger lurked. Toxic chemicals, once buried and forgotten, began seeping through the soil, contaminating homes, schools, and playgrounds. By the late 1970s, residents started falling ill. Mysterious illnesses, miscarriages, and ailments surfaced across the community, a silent threat that no one could see. Eventually, the government stepped in and residents were evacuated. Streets that once buzzed with life fell silent, homes abandoned, and nature slowly began to reclaim what was left behind. Yet those who visit today report that the neighborhood still hums with an unsettling energy. Shadows move differently here, slower, deliberate, and the wind sometimes carries a sharp metallic chill, as if the earth itself remembers every hardship endured. Visitors often describe inexplicable phenomena. A sudden icy gust might sweep past as you stand near a crumbling school foundation, carrying the metallic tang of chemicals. Soft footsteps echo behind you, though no one is in sight. Flickering shadows dance at the edge of your vision. Even walls seem to breathe, as if whispering stories too heavy to tell. Love Canal is more than abandoned homes and silent streets. It is a haunting testament to human oversight, environmental consequence, and memories that refuse to die. Every step through its empty avenues carries the weight of the lives once lived here and the stories the earth still holds. So next time you wander through the remnants of Love Canal, ask yourself, are these echoes merely the memory of a devastated community, or does the land itself still carry the voices of those it once held, watching, waiting?
5. Happy Valley, New York. Imagine stepping onto an overgrown trail in the early morning. Mist clings to your clothes like a whisper. The air smells of damp earth and decaying leaves. Somewhere nearby, faint footsteps echo along the empty path, though no one is there. Shadows flicker across the trees, moving just slightly, as if the woods themselves are alive. This is Happy Valley, a town that once thrived, now abandoned, slowly swallowed by nature, but not entirely forgotten. Located in Oswego County, New York, Happy Valley began in the mid-1800s as a small farming settlement, originally called Fraser. Early settlers worked tirelessly to transform swampy land into productive fields of hops, dairy, and muck crops. By 1892, homes, a schoolhouse, and a post office had been built, bringing routine and life to the valley. Families thrived here for decades. Children played near wooden fences, and neighbors gathered at the schoolhouse or along the dirt roads. Yet even as life flourished, whispers of unease followed. Stories of illness, misfortune, and strange happenings quietly threaded through the community. As the 20th century unfolded, hardship began to take its toll. Crop failures, economic struggles, and the Great Depression forced families to leave. By the 1930s, most homes were empty, the streets silent. In 1939, the land became part of the Happy Valley Wildlife Management Area. Even as the valley fell quiet, some locals whispered that the land itself remembered, a faint, lingering unease that refused to vanish. Visitors today speak of sensations impossible to ignore. A sudden drop in temperature brushes across your skin like icy fingertips. A distant, hollow laugh echoes across the marshes, though nothing can be seen. Orbs of light sometimes drift through the morning fog. Some feel an almost magnetic pull toward the forgotten cemetery stones, a weight in the air that seems alive with memory. Every step carries the echo of lives once lived here, of laughter, struggle, and the slow unraveling of a community. Happy Valley's ruins remind us that time may move forward, but memories and mysteries endure. So next time you wander these abandoned trails, ask yourself, are you hearing the echoes of those who once lived here, or is something else still watching? waiting. 6. Johnsontown, New York. Imagine trudging along a forgotten trail deep in the woods. The ground is soft with moss and fallen leaves. Somewhere ahead, the distant croak of a raven pierces the silence, and a chill wind seems to whisper through tree trunks that stand where homes once did. The air feels heavy, almost as if it remembers every step ever taken here. This is Johnsontown, a vanished hamlet swallowed by forest, with only stone foundations and an old cemetery left behind. Nestled in Rockland County, New York, Johnsontown was founded in the late 1700s by the Johnson brothers, who came to this rugged mountain area seeking timber for shipbuilding. Stretching along what are now Lake Sebago and Lake Kanawaki, the settlement grew into one of the largest hamlets in the region. Farms, homes, schools, churches, and businesses echoed with life, and the valley thrived with the rhythm of daily labor and laughter. But in the 1920s and 1930s, everything changed. The Palisades Interstate Park Commission began clearing communities to create what would become Harriman State Park. Homes were torn down, schools vanished, churches and farms disappeared. Only scattered stone foundations and long-forgotten trails remained, where footsteps and laughter once filled the valley. Today, hikers sometimes stumble upon hints of the past hidden beneath thick undergrowth, silent reminders of a place people once called home. At the heart of Johnsontown lies Pine Grove Cemetery, a small burial ground that once marked the center of the hamlet. Here lie headstones carved long ago by stonemasons, alongside smaller, unmarked stones whose identities are lost to time. A blue and gold marker now stands, commemorating the vanished community and the veterans buried here from wars long past. Visitors often speak of strangely heavy silence. Some say the trees seem to lean in, listening. Others whisper of fleeting shadows among the roots where buildings once stood, as if the forest itself refuses to let the past fade completely. So next time you wander these forgotten paths, ask yourself, are these echoes simply memories etched in stone and soil, or does Johnsontown still linger, watching the living walk through what remains of its vanished streets? 7. Van Hornsville, New York. Imagine walking along a narrow trail through quiet woods. The sound of your own footsteps is suddenly swallowed by a distant rustle. Somewhere nearby, Otsquago Creek gurgles softly, and the scent of damp earth hangs heavy in the still air. A chill brushes your neck, though no breeze moves. This is Van Hornsville, New York, a tiny hamlet where history seeps from creek banks and old cemeteries, and the quiet feels deeper than mere absence. Van Hornsville began after the American Revolution, when Abraham Van Horn recognized the rushing waters of Otsquago Creek as perfect for powering mills. By the 1790s, he had built his first mill, and soon the settlement grew. Homes and businesses clustered around the life-giving water. In the early days, the sound of mill wheels and children's laughter would have filled the valley. Today, only the creek rushes on, and moss-covered stone foundations hint at the lives once lived here. The heart of Van Hornsville lies in its small cemetery, where weathered headstones rise among deep grass, their names fading with time. Many were born in the 1800s, lived simple farm lives, and passed on without fanfare. It's a serene place, yet as dusk falls and shadows stretch between the stones, some visitors confess the stillness feels too heavy, like a pause before a breath you never hear. Walk toward the creek at twilight, and you might notice the water's rush seems to change, rising and falling in rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Hikers often speak of a strange weight in the air near old mill sites, as if the valley itself remembers the lives once lived here.
Some say they feel watched, though no one is there. Van Hornsville doesn't shout its secrets, but its quiet speaks loudly to those who listen. So next time you tread these trails, ask yourself, is the stillness simply nature's calm, or does the valley remember every soul who ever walked its banks, waiting? 8. Pompeii, New York. Imagine walking along a quiet, winding trail. Morning fog curls around the tree trunks like ghostly fingers. The air smells of damp earth and fallen leaves. Somewhere nearby, a wooden gate swings slightly, though no wind moves it. A faint echo of footsteps seems to follow your own. This is Pompeii, New York, a town with deep roots in early American history, where echoes of the past linger quietly among the forests and fields. Founded in the late 1700s, Pompeii was settled by pioneers drawn to its fertile lands and flowing streams. Early residents built homes, farms, and small mills along the creeks that crisscrossed the area. By the early 1800s, schools, churches, and trading posts created a thriving community where life revolved around agriculture and family. Yet as decades passed, some farms were abandoned, mills fell silent, and nature slowly crept back into the spaces where people once toiled. Life in Pompeii was simple, yet full of hard work. Children ran along dirt paths, neighbors shared harvests, the creek gurgled past old stone foundations. But locals often whispered of strange occurrences, a shadow darting between trees where no one stood, unexplained chills along the riverbanks, flickering lights over the old cemetery at dusk. Some claimed the air felt heavier near abandoned barns, as if memories of the past had settled into the walls and soil. Visitors today sometimes sense these subtle presences. A sudden drop in temperature brushes across your skin. The distant laughter of children echoes faintly among fields that have long been empty. Shadows shift just beyond your sight, and the forest seems to lean in, listening. Every step carries the weight of lives that once shaped this quiet valley. Pompeii's serene landscapes hide centuries of history, and with it, tiny mysteries that refuse to fade. So next time you wander along its trails or near its old stone foundations, ask yourself, are the whispers of early settlers still lingering? Or is something else quietly watching, waiting?
9. Pottersville, New York. Imagine hiking down a quiet dirt road at dusk, the Adirondack woods closing in around you. A chill crawls up your spine despite the still air. Somewhere ahead, a branch snaps underfoot, but when you turn, no one is there. The forest is silent. This is Pottersville, New York, a small Adirondack hamlet rooted in history, but whispered about by some as a place where the past feels closer than you'd expect. Pottersville was founded on March 25, 1799, as part of the town of Chester in Warren County. Early settlers carved roads through dense forests and built farms, sawmills, carding mills, and tanneries. Livestock grazed in fields, families worked the land, and local industry grew with the community. Over time, the hamlet became a quiet agricultural hub in the Adirondacks, connected to neighboring towns by the same roads laid out more than 200 years ago. Today, Pottersville is still a living town, but its history runs deep, and echoes of what came before can be felt if you know where to look. The nearby natural stone bridge and caves draws visitors with its massive marble entrances and winding underground passages, but beyond the tourist trails lie old foundations and rusted relics where mills and homes once stood. Locals tell stories that give Pottersville an eerie edge. Hikers along old back roads speak of sudden, unexplained chills even on warm nights. Some claim they felt watched when straying off the beaten path near moss-covered stumps and forgotten stone walls. A few urban explorers whisper about the old route up Lundy Road, where an abandoned cluster of buildings once stood before they were torn down for safety. Yet the feeling of something lingering there hasn't entirely faded. Pottersville doesn't announce its mysteries with creaking doors or glowing apparitions, but in the quiet stillness of the Adirondack dust, the woods seem to stretch a little longer, the shadows a little deeper, and the silence a little heavier. So next time you find yourself walking these old forest roads, ask yourself, are you just hearing the call of nature, or is something else still lingering in the quiet spaces between the trees? 10. Ausable Forks, New York. Imagine walking along a narrow, overgrown path in the early morning fog. The creek beside you gurgles softly, carrying the chill of the Adirondacks. Trees lean close, their branches scraping like fingers against your jacket. Somewhere ahead, a dilapidated wooden sign swings slowly, though no wind stirs it. This is Ausable Forks, New York, a tiny hamlet where history and wilderness collide, leaving behind a quiet sense of unease. Ausable Forks sits at the meeting point of the east and west branches of the Ausable River in Essex County. Settled in the early 1800s, it began as a hub for logging, milling, and farming. Families built homes along the riverbanks and worked hard to carve a life from the dense forests and rushing waterways. By the mid-1800s, the village supported small schools, churches, and shops serving the growing community. However, repeated floods and harsh winters challenged residents. Over time, some buildings were abandoned and nature began to reclaim the land. Life here was simple but rugged. Children ran across wooden bridges, families tended fields, the river powered mills and workshops. Yet locals passed down whispers of strange happenings. Some spoke of sudden cold spots near the old sawmills, as if the air itself remembered the people who once labored there. Others described fleeting shadows flitting along the creek or soft, echoing footsteps across empty foundations after dark. Visitors today report subtle, unsettling experiences. A sudden drop in temperature brushes their skin like invisible hands. Mist rising from the river can obscure familiar paths, and faint murmurs sometimes float on the wind. Some hikers say the old cemetery on the outskirts feels heavier than it should, a place where time seems to pause and memories linger. Ausable Forks doesn't scream its history, but in the quiet hush of the Adirondacks, its past is felt as much as it is seen. So next time you wander these fog-laden trails, ask yourself, are the whispers of early settlers still drifting through the trees, or is something else quietly watching, waiting?